Morning, everyone. Welcome to this week's questions answered, where we answer your questions. Hope everybody's had a good week. It's pretty dull out here now in Drogheda today, so it's definitely hitting the autumn time. So the good sunny days are gone, I think. But sure, look, it is what it is. If I wanted the sun, I'd move somewhere hot all year round. Maybe I'll think about that. Anyway, this week we've got a few questions, and we're going to try and focus on some different aspects that people have brought to our attention for some of the things that are going on for them. As always, thank you so much for the sharing and the comments that you guys have given us every week, and thank you so much for the support that you give us every week. It does make a big difference. The Patreon page, patreon.com/the Alan O'Donoghue podcast, is there. So if you can contribute once a month, that'd be great. If not to worry. I hope you guys have been enjoying the motivation podcasts as well. They seem to be getting a good response, which is always nice to hear, that people are actually finding them worthwhile and getting benefit from them and some inspiration from them as well, which is essentially what they're there for. So today, we're going to crack straight into it. First question: I have 3 children between the ages of 3 and 6. Myself and their dad have separated, and it's been a messy breakup. We don't really talk much, and when we do, it usually ends up in an argument which upsets the kids. I know this is hard for everyone, but especially for the children. Have you any advice on how I can manage this change as best as possible to make sure my kids are okay? And I do a lot of work with parents who are separated. A lot of the time they will have been sent by the court to go and do a parenting course, and it's one of the most difficult things for any parent to manage, because if you're the person who has been left, maybe there's been an affair, or maybe there's been, your ex-partner is just up and gone and you've been kind of taken by surprise, there can be a lot of hurt and a lot of anger towards them, and rightly so. Like, you're fully in your right to be angry at someone who has had an affair or disappeared and left you. And whereas then the other side, it can be quite difficult because there's a bit of shame over what you've put the family through. Sometimes not, and sometimes in all this breakup, the children get lost. And what I mean by that is that the children's emotions get caught between the anger of one parent and the anger of another parent, where there's conflict going on, and the residual impact of this conflict is having a seriously detrimental impact on the children. So it's one of those things where we need to kind of take that step back and go, okay, I am hurt, I am upset, I do want to punch their face, or watch them have a slow death. That's I absolutely want, because I hate them, right? But they are your child's other parent, and while they've hurt you, and they may have hurt the children as well, like, there's no getting around this, but most of the time the children still love mum and they still love dad, and they want to spend time with both, and they can't get their head around why you guys cannot be together, because they love you both. So that can be a really difficult transition. And in my experience, what can happen is that parents use the children to get back at the other person, because when you separate, there is less control, or there's less, not control, there's less emphasis on the other person. And sometimes, because we've been hurt, we want to hurt them as much as we've been hurt. And we can't be horrible to them, or we can't beat them up. We can't do that. But what we can do is control their access to the children, or make it as difficult as possible for them to access the children. And there will be people, I'm sure, sitting there screaming at the screens, going, yeah, but he's the one that left, or she's the one that broke this relationship up. And that might be true. So I'm not talking about every single situation, but I'm talking about in general, my experience. The conflict and anger towards the other person overshadows the love for the child and what's best for the child. And ultimately, unless the other parent is an abusive parent, the child needs to have their other parent in their life. Now, I've worked with plenty of people who have actually gone to the courts and said that the other parent has abused the children. And that starts a whole ball rolling of, getting social services involved. And sometimes there is no basis for it. It's just a way to get at them. And what happens then is that the children get questioned, the other parent gets questioned, and there's a block put on that communication. So all of a sudden, if we take a look at the children, what's actually happening for them is that they've no control over whether they see their mum or their dad. And next thing they're getting questioned, has mummy or daddy hurt you or touched you or done something wrong to you? Like, that's extremely detrimental to a child who has never experienced anything like that. So I think what's important for us is, as parents in general, and I will get back to the question here, but what's important for us as parents in general, when we separate, is to not use the children as a pawn in this game to hurt the other parent. So for you, you're trying to figure out what's the best way, because you guys are in conflict and you don't get on that well. So what I'd suggest is that you sit down with the kids and let them know that they have done nothing to cause this. I've worked with a lot of parents as well who said that, I've had my children come to me and say sorry for something random when, I'm leaving, or when the other parent is leaving, because they take on that sense of guilt that maybe it was something they did. Maybe they've overheard conversations where, in anger, say, if we didn't have the kids, I would never be with you. And that's not intentionally trying to hurt the kids, but we have to be aware that they're picking up on things, even on subtle things. So some parents might say, well, I don't get into a fight with them. Absolutely. And that's fantastic. What I do is I slam the door in their face, or I, don't respond to text messages, or I don't let them know if the kids have extra homework or on medication or whatever it might be. They have to figure that out for themselves. But that hurts the children as well, because not all communication that we pick up on is through the words that we speak. So, like we've said before, the Marabine circle, 7% the words that we speak, 38% the tone of voice, and 55% body language is what the other person picks up when it comes to emotion. So your kids are going to know that you're being obstructive to your parent, even if it's not verbally. So, and this isn't easy. You may be fully in your right to be angry and upset and annoyed at the person, absolutely. But it takes work, because you have to nearly separate yourself and go, I need to manage myself and deal with my emotions around this, whether that's speaking to a therapist or a counsellor or whoever it might be. But what do my children need right now? And they may not need to see me, be horrible to your parent or just turn my back and be argumentative. Now, if the other parent is coming at you trying to actually engage you in conflict, it's okay to turn your back and walk away. And what I'd say to you is, if we are maintaining respect, in general sense, with the other parent, where we're not going to let ourselves get dragged into it, your kids are going to see that, right? And if they're seeing the other parent be aggressive, be looking for a fight, be argumentative, essentially what's happening is that that parent is telling the children that their love is conditional, that they can fall out of love and get really, really angry. So what I'd say to you is, look at your kids and write them individually a letter, letting them know that they've done nothing wrong, that you're going to try and make their world as safe as possible, that you're all going to be okay ultimately, because you will be okay, and that if they ever need to talk to you, that they can do that. Now, what might happen is you might have a kid who kind of goes, yeah, right, whatever, that, it's grand, I'm fine. But you don't know if they're going to pull that out in those moments where they're feeling low or feeling insecure within themselves. So that might be of benefit to them. The other thing is to try and make some sort of contact, whether it's through message or whether it is through email, with the other parent, and say, look, I know we have our issues, I know we have our difficulties, but we need to start thinking about the children. We need to start thinking about what is best for them, and us getting aggro with each other or trying to, mislead the other parent or not give them the information that they need is not actually beneficial to the kids. So can we find a way of communicating, a way of managing this? Because family events are going to happen. So you're going to have graduations, you're going to have possibly weddings, grandchildren, whatever it might be, but there's going to be events where you have to be together. And what you don't want is you don't want your children getting to a stage where they're going, do you know what? I don't want you to come because if you two get together in the same room, it will just take away from my day. I have a friend who on her wedding day, that's exactly what happened. Her parents have been separated for 20 years, and her whole thought process on her wedding day was to try and keep her parents apart, who'd been separated for 20 years, because if they got together, there would be fireworks, and she didn't want that on her wedding day. Like, this is real life. And as I said, you need to deal with your hurt and your anger, but your kids just need you to support them there. So the other thing I'd say is look at the arrangements, and the arrangements set up as clear as possible. So if you've got younger kids, which you have, maybe put up a little chart where they know the days that they're with dad, the days that they're with you, and that kind of thing. And the other thing I'd say is if the other parent lets your children down, so is late or doesn't turn up certain times, you don't need to cover for them. You don't need to make an excuse for their behaviour. Just let your kids know that they're okay, that the children are okay, and that you're going to take care of them. Now, you may have, the dad may be due to take the kids for the weekend, and you actually have plans that you're going to go away, you're going to go out. But that's where you pull in the relatives or the friends or even just a babysitter, so that you're not feeling like he is controlling me and my life still by not turning up and taking the kids. And then I suppose it's just a case of trying to build a new life. Like, it's okay for you to sit down with your kids and say, right, kids, these are the boundaries now that we need to work with. This is the way our house is going to work, because it's different. And it is different. Because dad isn't there all the time anymore. And there is a lot of responsibility on you now, because it sounds like you're probably the resident parent. So you're going to have to deal with a lot of the crap, unfortunately. But if you put the structures in place for your new family as best as possible, you're going to give your kids that bit of a solid foundation. Okay? And then what I'd say to you is, as they get older, help them manage it. But you can't stop them from feeling hurt. You can't fix their feelings. You cannot fix their feelings. That's one of the most important things. None of us want our kids to feel hurt. We don't want our kids to feel pain, but it's part of life. It's actually a part of life. We all need to experience pain. We all need to experience hurt, so that we can work through it ourselves and know that we can actually manage when things don't go our way. So that it's resilience, essentially. That when we get knocked down, when we fall down, we can pick ourselves up and carry on, and we are okay. So don't try and fix your kids' feelings, because you can't. And it's important they get to own those feelings themselves. And if that's upset, if that's anger, that's okay. Because their world has been turned upside down, and they have nothing to do with it. It's not their fault. So just give them that security. Set up your new family setup. The new rules, and even if the rules are totally different in dad's house, you keep them in your house. And actually, on that, I'd say, look at the consequences. If you need to put consequences in place for your kids as they get older, probably at the age that they're at now, there isn't tons of consequences needing to go in, but as they get older, you may need to put consequences in place. And what I'd say to you is, look at, will dad follow this consequence through? So there's no point if you guys have not a great relationship and you're saying, look, there's no screens for a week because this is what this child did, and the dad's coming back going, hold on a minute, that happened on your watch, there's nothing to do with me, so actually the screens are allowed now because they're with me, and you're not putting a consequence in place that impacts on me. If that's the kind of thing that you have, maybe just look at consequences that are in your house, so that you can manage them and you're not relying on somebody else, the other parent, to follow them through. Now, if you have a relationship where you can actually say, well, look, the screens are gone, and the other parent will go, grand, fully back you up, 100%, great. That is fantastic. It's fantastic for everybody. It means that you guys have found a way of working together. But I'd say take the pressure off yourself. Give this the time that it needs in order to find its own feet. And you guys will be okay. You will be okay. I promise. Okay. Next one. I suspect that my 14-year-old son has started smoking. I have found a lighter and a cigarette butt in his room. I know it's something that most teenagers try. My worry is that there are tons of kids around our area that vape and smoke weed, and I'm concerned that he'll start moving into that now that he may be smoking. What's the best way to handle the discussion with him, and how do I deal with it if he is? So, you're right. Most kids will try a cigarette at some stage. And there's a lot of teenagers now who will try vaping because it's seen as not as bad as smoking. Medically, I don't know. There isn't enough research out there whether it is. Some people are saying yes, it is just as dangerous, if not more so. Other studies are saying no, it's absolutely fine. Look, we don't know enough yet because it's such a relatively new thing. But what I'd say to you is it's important that you do have the conversation with them. Now, what you may find is that you approach him and say, look, I found a lighter and a cigarette butt in your bedroom. What's the story? He might go, oh, it belongs to one of my friends. And you say, which friend? And they'll say, not saying because I don't want to get him in trouble. Okay? That may be true. It may be the truth, but it might not be. So I think there's a couple of things you can do. You can go kind of quite strong on it and say, okay, you do not smoke. And if we find you smoking, there are serious consequences. And look at what are the serious consequences that you can actually implement. Okay, that's the first thing. Go as hard as you feel you need to, because forget what everybody else says. It's your family, and you might be totally against smoking and you will not accept it, right? The other thing is, you may not be that parent who does feel that they need to go that strong when it comes to smoking. So what you might say is that, I will not give you any money for cigarettes. I will, and you're certainly not allowed to smoke in this house. If I find that you're smoking in this house, there are going to be consequences. And if you are worried that he is smoking in his bedroom, take the bedroom door off the hinges, right? Take the bedroom door off the hinges, because if you can't trust him to not smoke in the house, it is really bloody dangerous. If he falls asleep, who knows what would happen, right? It happens all over the world, right? That people die because of house fires caused by people falling asleep. Now, generally, they're probably older people, but it doesn't matter, okay? It's your house. It's not his house. It's your house. You're just letting him stay in the house for a little bit until he moves on and gets his own place. So take the door off the hinges if you don't trust that he is actually doing not smoking, right? It'll be amazing how quickly he will work his ass off to prove to you that he is trustworthy and that the door can go back on, right? The other thing then is to talk about, genuinely the dangers. Now, your kid might go, I don't care, it's my life, I'll do what I want. If I want to, smoke myself to death, that's all that matters to me. But there is something about teenagers becoming aware that what happens to them, or what they do, or what they choose to do, actually has residual impact on everybody else. It does have an impact on you, and it has an impact on your family. So it is okay if you say, well, actually, it's not just about you, it's about everybody else. So you may not care whether or not you actually die of cancer, but we do. And who's going to have to pay for your funeral? We will. And we're going to be the ones who are upset. Now, again, he's not going to pay any attention to you saying that, but at least you're putting it out there. And then look at, well, what do we do if he is smoking? Well, what are the consequences that are going to actually work? The simple one is the phone. Take the phone off him. And a lot of parents will say, I can't get the phone off him. Well, turn off the Wi-Fi. Take the laptop. And look, you're going to have kids who are going to give you all the excuses in the world. Oh, I need my phone for going to school. Sorry, but kids go to school every day without a phone. Kids have gone to school for generations without a phone and managed okay. They've managed okay. They survived. I didn't have a phone at school. I was okay. My parents didn't know where I was 24 hours a day. I was okay. Doesn't mean I wasn't doing stupid stuff. but I was okay. So don't allow it in your house. Don't accept it if you don't want to accept it. And don't provide them with money. So, say, well, sorry, you're not getting any money off us because we can't be sure that you're not going to spend it on cigarettes. And don't give them money. If there's things that need to be paid for, you go and pay them directly. Give it a go and see. It doesn't mean that he's not going to smoke. It doesn't mean that he's not going to vape. It doesn't mean that he's not going to smoke weed. But you're making it as uncomfortable as possible for him to do this. Because I would say to any parent, a lot of parents will come to me and say, I'm kind of powerless when it comes to stuff like this. I can't actually stop him from doing it. You're right, you can't stop him from doing it. But you don't have to make it easy for him either. Okay? See how that goes. Right. Last one for today. I have to leave home early for work every morning and leave my 4-year-old and 2-year-old with a childminder to drop to school and creche. It kills me every morning to leave them, and I only get home from work to see them for an hour or so before we put them to bed. I can't afford to quit my job, but I'm really struggling with being away from them so much. Have you any advice? That's such a difficult situation for many, many parents where they have to go to work to pay the bills, and that can be a lot of pressure. And we're living in a time where we're seeing families spend a lot of quality time together, where they are able to go off and do fun things, and that's great for them, but it doesn't make it any easier for you when you have to go to work. So there's a few things. One, I'd say, you're in a situation that it sounds like you have no choice over, right? That you're not in a position to quit. Now, it doesn't mean that you might not be in a position to have a conversation with your employers and say, look, can I do my hours in 4 days or 3 days, or can I go part-time? The other thing I would say is you'd be amazed how little impact dropping a day or a half a day has on your salary once the tax comes into play and all that kind of stuff. So you may be able to afford it. And look at the travel. Like if you're saving a day's travel, I don't know how far you're traveling to go for work, but if you're traveling, say, 20, 30 miles to go to work every single day, the financial cost of that is going to rack up pretty quick. So take that saving into account, take the savings on the tax that you're going to be paying less tax. So that comes into play as well. And maybe you have that wiggle room to cut back on certain things. Who knows what? I don't know. But, maybe you don't have a takeaway every weekend. Maybe you have a takeaway every second weekend. It's amazing how much you can actually start to pare things back and make it work, so that at least you have 1 day at home or 2 half days at home with the kids. And that's starting to relieve that pressure on you. Okay, so you're getting that sense. The other thing I'd say is you don't need to cram a full day's effort into the hour before bed. So you're getting to see them for an hour, and the inclination would be to come home and go, I just want to play and have fun and have some sort of lovely experience with my kids. And then what happens is your kids are still awake at 9:30 because they've got hyped up after starting to calm down before bed because you want to play with them. But what's actually best for the kids, and I know that's hard, it's really, really hard, but what's best for the kids is having that calm down period. So maybe instead of running around the house doing loads of fun and games, maybe it's about sitting down and drawing a picture, or maybe it's sitting down and reading a book, or maybe having a bath, whatever it might be, where it's all that calming down before bedtime so that the kids are getting a good night's sleep, which they need. The other thing I'd say then is that when it comes to the weekends, have fun times together. But I'd say try not to overload the weekend as well to make up for the whole week either. So, you don't need to have your kids involved in 5 different activities of the weekend and then visiting granny and granddad and auntie and uncle and everybody. And then you get to the point where it's Sunday evening, everybody is completely wrecked, tired, having had a full jam-packed weekend, and everyone's facing into next week going, oh my God, I'm so tired. How can I face it? So it's okay if you guys have a pajama day on a Sunday and we're going to stay in the pajamas, watch kids' movies all day, have some popcorn and chocolate. Absolutely fine. Absolutely fine. But look at this as this is just another part of life. So, like, okay, when my parents, when I was young, my parents went off to work. They both had to work. That's just the way it was. Did I like it? No, I hated it. I hate the fact that I had to go to a childminder as a kid. But I get it. I get it. I understand. And it was just life. So I made the most of it. Like, I still had the crack. I still played with my friends. It was just life. And I was okay. I don't hate my parents for it. We have a good relationship. It doesn't mean that they're going to grow up and not like you. It doesn't mean that they're going to grow up and hate your guts. It's just life. And it's one of those things that they just need to deal with. Because sometimes we can wrap our kids up in this bubble and want to protect them from everything, but life is just like that. Life is tough. Life has got ups and downs. We need to be able to manage ourselves and be able to deal with it. So maybe it's okay. And like, you might be leaving the house and the kids could be in tears, and that's so difficult to have to put up with, or to manage, or to experience. You might be crying the whole way to work because of it. That's where I'd say maybe the emotional turmoil on you is too much. And maybe it is okay for you to go to your employer and say, okay, I need to do something because my own mental health, never mind my kids, but my own mental health is really, really suffering here. Can I work 4 days a week? Can I work 3 days a week? Can I work part-time? Whatever is going to work for you. And sit down with your partner, if you have a partner, and look at, well, where can we pare back? It is amazing. It really is amazing how much people can pare back financially when they need to. Okay? And see if it will work. Your employer might say no, but at least you've tried. And then you may start to look at, well, actually, I need to work closer to home, or I just need to find a part-time job. And go to your employer and say, look, I found a part-time job, so I'm going to leave. They might be disappointed. They might go, actually, no, look, we'll figure it out. Here you go, work for us part-time. And it actually works out. So take the pressure off yourself. You're doing the best that you can right now. It doesn't mean it's always going to be like this. It doesn't mean that your kids are going to hate you. It is what it is, and you just have to do the best that you can with the situation that you have. But also looking to kind of go, well, how can I change it in the future? And try it and see. Okay, that's it for this week. Thank you so much to everyone who's joined in. I hope you've enjoyed it. I hope you've got something from it. Head over to the Patreon page, support us if you can. It is really appreciated. Hope you guys have a good week, and I will see you next week. Take care.